All right, good evening, everybody. It's 6 o'clock and we have a quorum, so I will call this meeting to order. I'm going to go right to our old business approval of minutes from May 15th, and at the same time thank Patrick, who ran the meeting in my absence. Thank you very much, Patrick.
No
Appreciate
problem.
that all the time.
Yeah.
Do we have any comments, corrections to the minutes before we take a vote?
I'll move approval.
Approval moved by Mr. Berman.
Second.
Second from Patrick. Any comments, questions? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes? Please,
Aye.
saying aye.
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 Right, it is unanimous, Nancy. Thank you very much. Okay, new business. I just want to take the opportunity to welcome our new town manager, Alvin Schwab, who I see is at our meeting. Welcome. Welcome to our meeting and to town.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate the efforts of all. Looking forward to connecting with this group of folks and this very vital part of our community. And I know I've been working with Elizabeth even before I came here. We had a good introduction through the process, and it has done nothing but get stronger from that period. So looking forward to hopefully being a integral piece of continued success. So thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, so let's go to our construction manager for a project update. Anthony is here with us. I see Scott online and Johnny Downs as well. Who's speaking?
I am speaking. All right. Everybody's standard agenda as we go through it. We'll give a project update and whatnot. So first item foremost is permits. We're still waiting on our fire protection permit. The project manager has been on vacation for a week. So hopefully he comes up with some good news as he returns. Construction schedule update. General item here is the exterior mock-up wall will commence. We established a new location on the southwest side of the building out of the way. I did get an update from our mason today that the brick is in. The actual cast stone sample pieces in for the mock-up. Our pieces are in. So we're just waiting on some membrane, some flashing for them. We're really gonna get rocking and rolling on that. You'll see progress every week to week on that mock-up. Now that it's gonna be a focal point, I should say, of moving forward in the exterior wall construction of the building as we continue to progress through steel. So quick process update. Site work subcontractor has completed prepping and installing the required material for the crane pad locations. This will be able to be found at the north end of the building and the south end where the crane is currently planted right now. The building foundation work has been completed, allowing us to start the structural steel installation. Any anchor bolt locations that need to be corrected will be done so by our concrete subcontractor. Anything that is a major correction, the steel subcontractor will burn a slot in the base plate to shift into tolerance or into grid. Let's call it the steel column. Final anchor bolt surveying has been completed and reviewed with the team. This also includes surveying of the embedded steel items, as well as you guys come out to the site and take a look. You'll see, for instance, an embedded plate in the wall where they field welded and attached shear tabs, shear clips that'll connect the cross beam into the wall. So there'll be a good example of that when you guys come out to site, and we'll be able to point that out to you. Structural steel installation, as everybody knows, is started. You can see all the columns up. You have some wide flange beams actually going in over, which will be the above the parking garage. So you guys, when you get some time, come on down and take a look at it. Like I said, I'm a little partial to structural steel. It's awesome to see these guys and what they're able to do. All right. We're continuing with steel deliveries. The derricks are continuing. We did find enough space on site. We're able to lay down steel. They're shaking these beds of the trucks out and placing it strategically within reach of the crane as they continue to erect, which is fantastic. The delivery, I think next is going to be another derrick of steel. I believe right now They currently have, as of today, more beams that got delivered plus metal decking. So you'll see once they get all those beams up, metal decking will start to go down. Under slab electrical plumbing lines at the east slab on grade have passed inspections. Right now, we're currently not doing any work up there because steel has started. And then we've also completed some under slab plumbing work at the lower level west slab, which is going to be the slab of the parking garage. We are not complete with that yet, but this work will be completed once structural steel work is done. We cannot have any trades working underneath as steel is being boomed and lifted into place for safety reasons. Current update on Riley, the lot is continuing to be used for material laydown area. GeoQuest, we called in today, and I think Andrew's on vacation this week for some additional soil samples. They are going to walk with Manafort to try to figure out if we could separate and segregate the piles of what is not accepted by a local facility, and what can go out potentially maybe as clean right now. So that's our first shot at getting these piles out of there. Another one is Tri-State is going to run a sieve analysis on the existing material for potential use as a subbase for the parking lot only of the Riley side. This will allow us to take those impacted soils and bring up the elevation or grade of that parking lot up by a foot, so we could get rid of these piles, as in a save costs there. We also have to obviously run this by the design team. So we did have a meeting last week just to brainstorm some ideas of what we could do with this impacted soil and get it out of here without a cost exposure that we could potentially have. The bridge abutment work on the Riley side is continuing to be excavated, concrete forming, rebar placement, and concrete to be placed. That work will hopefully start within the next week. Right now, we did submit a late RFI this afternoon about some suitable soils and reaching a structural stable footing depth for the concrete for this back bridge concrete abutment. So we're starting that work. We're gonna get that laid out with Manafort. And that's really it as far as schedule updates. Anybody have any questions for now?
Yeah, I just want to start with a couple now. When I was over at the site the other day, I did park in the shopping plaza next door to be out of the way, but I noticed a lot of construction workers are parking over there. Do we have some formal?
We don't have.
Have we talked to anybody over there?
I did talk to Isaacs. This is a while back, but I don't think nothing formal has been put in place for parking there.
It's probably better to be proactive about that.
Yeah.
I mean, there are empty slots, in storefronts there, but I think you should be.
Okay.
I mean, I'm saying this after I parked there and walked over.
Right.
But if I'm doing it, then I think we should at least make sure it's okay.
And it's only going to get more filled up, obviously, because once we start interior construction, you're going to have a lot more guys there. But yes, Mark, that's a great point.
The soils that are sitting at Riley that are being tested, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I see Lois with her hand up. I want to make sure the Lois is involved with this, being most knowledgeable about all this stuff and can be brought up to speed with what's happening there and what decisions need to be made, et cetera. I don't know that those details need to be gone through right now,
Right.
but I'm sure Lois will get to you in a second on that. And then the only other thing I wanted to ask was inspections by the town, by the building official's office. Is all that going?
Yep, it's going very well. Yep,
It's going
very
because I noticed now that you've got underground utilities
Yep.
going in, all that.
They've passed inspection. We've contacted Dwight every step of the way. Jason has a great relationship with them. I know Angelo, I think his last day, who's Dwight's assistant, was either last Friday or this Friday. So he's been out helping Dwight out too, who's done. Angelo's been out there for a few inspections as well. So yeah. Yep, all that's been coordinated accordingly.
Let's go to Lois and then Patrick. Lois?
I'm just looking for definition of impacted. I thought we had talked about taking all of the soil that we're problematic off the site, and now it sounds like they may be reused on the site, or some
So,
of them.
so I could explain the impacted soil that was part of the soil management plan that was called out to be contaminated, was removed, from the site. These are spoils from the excavation of the building, foundation. About 10 years ago, this soil would have been able to go to a facility and marked as clean. But because the state of Connecticut and everything's become more stringent, the soil management plan and the design called out for this soil to be, clean and removed on site. In order for it to go to a facility for disposal or acceptance, we have to run additional testing. Sometimes these facilities require some additional testing above and beyond what was done, which we've done that and we are obligated to do for the environmental protection, the DEP, because if you start moving this stuff around and it's not acceptable, Manafort and everybody could get in a whole lot of trouble. So where we stand today is those reports came back and no facility at this point in time locally would be able to accept this soil. So what we're trying to do, Lois, at this point in time is, because it technically 10 years ago, it would be marked as clean. It's like if we took your driveway and we milled the pavement, got rid of the asphalt, and we took the dirt that was underneath your driveway, it would have the same type of pollutants that are in it now. And a lot of these facilities in Connecticut have been more stringent. One of the talk of the town or talk for us and our team was maybe find a facility with GeoQuest's help somewhere in Massachusetts, maybe where the guidelines aren't so stringent, and this would be technically considered to be clean. But right now we're running into a problem with the local CT facilities. We're brainstorming. We had a meeting last week on site with Manafort. Nancy was there, the design team, GeoQuest, to come up with some options. Right now, it's not very hazardous where it couldn't be reused on site. So what we're trying to maybe do is bring the Riley parking lot area up a foot to disperse some of this soil that we excavated out from the building foundation. And then we do have some allowance money established in our GMP that hopefully would be able to cover the remaining impacted soil. So there's still a bunch of moving targets here. We got to figure out what we could do. What if we do bring up the parking lot subgrade up a foot? What does that do to other design elements on the Riley site? We don't think it's going to have a major impact at this time, but again, that would be an SLR question. Who's a consultant of TSKP, as well as Richter Segan, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, we should really reach out to facilities in Massachusetts. We've definitely had success there in taking soils in the past, like Dudley Reclamation. But it sounds like, that's happening, Lois. It just hasn't come to fruition yet.
Lois,
I wonder if you've talked to the Department of Environmental Protection about the nature of the soils.
I have not, but that would maybe be a good idea.
I think it is a good idea, and I have to tell you that the fact that you can't find a place that will take it happily makes me feel even less happy about putting it in a floodplain on a public site where our library is going to be. So I think we need to work hard to get rid of it.
Yeah, Lois, I think, it's been like this for a while in Connecticut, where it's hard to get rid of soils in Connecticut landfills. The state has restricted what you really can take, even though may not be as contaminated as you think it is. So we got to redouble our efforts on out of state landfills that can take it.
I think you should talk to the Department of Environmental Protection and ask them what they do in such cases.
Yep. Yeah. In our past history with dealing with this, we've definitely had to ship it out of state. Not even talking to DEEP, but we can certainly talk to them, but I have a feeling that's what they're going to suggest.
Lois, would you be open to connecting with GeoQuest on this?
Yeah, I'd be glad to, but I do not know. I can't look at a soils analysis and tell you whether or not that ought to go someplace. Or
No,
not.
no, I'm not asking that. I'm just asking that you would probably be best to understand what our consultant can explain to us in terms of current laws and regulations and, you know, just to get a better
That,
uh,
that's
comfort
right.
level
I
here
think
with
the
what we're
Department of
doing.
Environmental Protection can do that and will help with that for a town that has a problem. I don't think they're trying to make trouble for people. And I do think that they have made standards that they think are protective of human health. And I am particularly concerned because of the flooding that is potential for this site.
Right, right. That's all valid. You know, that's why I want to make sure you kind of stay involved with this.
I'll be glad to be.
Okay, all right. So do you, who would be contacting?
I would be able to contact DEP if I could get information. And actually, you know what? It might be actually a good idea to have GeoQuest contact the DEP and work hand in hand with them.
Yeah.
And find an acceptable facility.
I would agree.
With you, you know,
Yeah.
with you by his side.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So what I'll do is once Andrew gets back from vacation this week, next week, I'll put a call into him. See, I'm sure he's got his contacts over at the DEP as well. So I can't see why he wouldn't.
And I think we need all help we can get.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, Lois. I appreciate it.
Patrick?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. So the cost to haul the soil away, is that in our budget?
No,
Especially if it has to go to Massachusetts?
no, because originally it was marked as clean.
Is that a change order?
No, but we have allowances to help out with this. So we really just need to nail down where it goes and then we can start assessing the costs.
Scott, this magnitude is going to be above and beyond our allowances. I believe at this time.
Yeah, have we budgeted that already? Or that's something that's still in?
No, that's part of our GMP. We have the $60,000 for impacted soils plus the 41,000
Right.
Rainforest contract. And that 220 tons of the polluted, contaminated soil that we had in the impacted zone to allow for this was $142 a ton. So that cost $31,000 to remove 220 tons of that, which is above and beyond what the piles are that are out there. Those
Right,
are
'cause there
more,
was more.
those were more, that had more pollutants in it than what's technically out there. Like I said, 10 years ago, that would have been clean.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so,
we have monetary impact here.
Yeah.
Coming, most likely, maybe.
so I just, one minute, but I just wanted to add to what you said earlier, Mr. Chair, as far as the parking goes, if you, where that light is, the entrance into the Ocean State job lots, on the other side of that road, there's a lot of spaces, you know, towards,
Right.
if you stay closer to the road, or closer to the entrance.
Closer to the edge.
Not up by
to
the
the
gym.
corner, right?
Yeah, in that corner, so there's spaces there.
Who would I
That's a
talk-
little further of a walk, you know, obviously,
yeah,
but that's nothing, I mean, to park in that area,
Right.
you know, there's a lot of openings there. So I just wanted to throw that out.
Yeah, thank you.
Who would contact me over there? What is
At
it
Ocean-
Isaac's?
Oh, brother. I don't, whoever owns the Ocean State Plaza there.
Yeah, I don't know who the owner is. You may have, maybe you can talk to Isaac. Find out, get a contact.
I think there's a sign up over there, space available.
Yeah, there's always a sign.
Got a phone number on it.
Okay, maybe I'll give that a look out and a call.
Okay, so real quick, my question on the report for Prosser is, did you find any bolts that needed to be corrected?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And
So what happens for instance, our concrete subcontractor will own the correction on their dime,
okay.
right? They would pay for their own services to go in. So for instance, we had to shift a couple of the bolts over where they had to drill down, epoxy down, reset a bolt, and to make it right.
Okay.
So that's all at their expense.
That's not.
You were there, Sean, for that?
I saw the
You-
correct
yeah,
action,
okay.
but there was a submittal even beforehand, approved by the design team. So it's not uncommon to have to make corrections like that, so they do submit the repair ahead of time and it's a common occurrence.
Right, and if it's really bad, then you'll do that, or they'll be able to burn a slot into the base plate where they can shift over the column. into tolerance, or if it's real bad, what they'll do is they'll burn off the base plate of the column. They'll refabricate a new base plate and weld it on in the field.
Wow.
And that's all, obviously at the expense
their
of the concrete subcontractor.
Okay.
So you'll see here in probably
So
the next,
Manafort would.
the concrete contractor is Acronom.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
moving forward, you'll see if there's any type of financial liability, let's call it, on the subcontractor's end in regards to another subcontractor. You'll see at these committee meetings, I'll be processing zero cost to the owner back charges,
Okay.
meaning it costs, Berlin Steel $2,800 to refabricate a plate. And then I'll have a deduct from Acronom Concrete's contract of $2,800 to pay for
Yeah.
the $2,800 on the back end.
Okay.
All right.
Last question, the bridge abutment that you were talking about, so when I went by, I couldn't really tell if the trees were still there or not.
Trees are still there.
Okay,
We're
so
working on that.
maybe you're gonna talk about that later, but are
Yeah,
they gonna take them down?
we are going to take them down.
Okay.
What I'm going to do is at the next committee meeting, I'll have a COP, change order proposal.
Okay,
It will reflect zero cost. I will apply it to our CM contingency. Okay, and we'll take care of that. So that will be a no cost to the job.
okay,
Alrighty.
thank you.
Yeah, just regarding those trees, the committee members, when they look on the west side of the bank, they'll see that little, I'll call it a grove.
Yeah.
Grove of ugly
Right,
trees.
I couldn't tell.
You can tell where I stand on this. I just think that it's gonna improve the whole project to get rid of them.
Well, you can see the building much better from the Bradley side looking across now, right?
And we already know from wetlands and planning, it's a non-issue.
Mhm.
So that'll be coming before us officially, right?
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
More questions
Thank you.
so far for Anthony? Bob?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment, first a comment that if you lifting the riding parking lot by a foot, that's gonna definitely take out a floodplain problem. A 100-year floodplain problem, which I suspect we may not ever have again, because all the work done in Phillips Park seems to have alleviated all of that flooding. That makes it even better. by going up another street.
Interesting. Okay.
And all these spoils have been, they're covered in the site.
Well, we're gonna hear more about that possibility.
It fills, yeah.
Okay, any other questions so far for Anthony before we continue?
Yeah, sorry, I had a hard time hearing that. What was it about the foot?
Bob Berman was just saying that raising, if the parking lot was raised, that it, well, he didn't say may, but he said it would be out of the floodplain. I'm not sure about the elevation necessary for that, but
Well,
it certainly makes a floodplain
no,
issue.
that's good, but the only thing
We're not there yet, Jeff, so I'm
we
not,
have to think about that though. Okay,
yeah.
because, you
I
know,
don't
there's
wanna talk about
topography,
the
there's the
risks of that
bridge.
until we learn a lot more about this soil.
Okay, all right.
You know, yeah, rather than take up everybody's time.
That's why I said if.
Right. Okay. More questions for Anthony before he moves on? Anthony, the floor is yours.
All right, item C here, requisitions and change order proposals. We're looking for approval on our May 2024 requisition of $867,061.73.
Prior to that,
You want to do the GMP change order for?
well, there is a change order that needs to be approved, which is incorporated into that
Correct.
requisition.
Yes.
So let's do this in the correct order.
All right, we're looking for approval of our GMP change order number 4. As you can see here, this was from our last committee meeting, which had the DOT and wetland clarifications ASI, as well as I put on here the credit for the range and electrical circuitry for PR8. That was done at the committee meeting before the last one. So for a total of $59,681.
So moved.
Oh, Mr. Reich, there you are. Thank you very much. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Berman. And just to remind everybody, the process is we review and approve change order proposals. First, and once they're approved, they get incorporated, they usually get bundled, like we see here, there's two change order proposals, they get bundled into an actual change order. So this is number 4. We have motion to approve change order number 4. Any comments, questions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And we are unanimous. Thank you. Now, Gil.
Now we can go.
Now we
into
can pay the big bill.
All right, we'll go, I'll just reiterate, we're looking for approval on May 2024 requisition progress billing payment of $867,061.73.
So moved.
Move for approval by Mr. Ike, seconded
Second.
by Mr. Berman. Thank you. Questions? Comments?
A lot of pages.
Yeah, a lot of backup.
Bob, just a quick
Lots
comment.
back.
I went through all the pages on this and I noticed that there's a lot of back and forth. And I also just want to point out people that some of the vendors who are supplying materials, for instance, are temporarily storing it for us, which is very nice. Because we just don't have room in writing.
Right, and we do have a 40-foot from a Conex box from our mechanical contractor, but a lot of these people will store it for us in our warehouse as long as
Right.
we have the right documentation and
Yep.
paperwork. and
Yeah, I
insurances.
want to stress that if it's not stored on site, then we need that documentation
Yep.
to be insured and
Yep.
identified and so
Yep.
forth. So, which I know Sean is vetting for us. Okay. Any other questions before we take a vote? Comments? Hearing none. All in favor of approving application number 11 for payment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And we are unanimous. All right, thank you, everybody. All right, Anthony?
COPs and budgets, some pending COPs.
Okay.
COP 7B has been on here for a while. We just finally got our last information from one of our subcontractors, pricing proposal. Right now I am reviewing it with my team. Currently it was a cost that we don't think is necessary or justified. But we are making our red lines and review on it before we forward to TSKP and Colliers for their review. I talked to Jeff about this earlier last week. COP 15 was the added independent supports for the sunshades. I still show a budget of $17,000. We did just receive an RFI response that Accurate needed. So they'll be able to close the loop with their engineer, and hopefully we're going to be getting a credit back to offset this cost of $17,000 there. COP 17, we're still tracking, reviewing with my team internally, which is the MDC encroachment, that $55,000 for that MDC slide rail shoring support system that they made us put in. COP 21, this is we talked about this already, which was the tree removal at the Washbrook. It was a $3,700 cost. We'll apply it to our CM contingency, so it'll be a net zero value. And COP 22, Patrick, we talked about back charges for cast in bolts and washers of $0. You won't see that as a cost to the job because it will be facilitated between our two subcontractors, one who had the added cost, one who made the mistake. All right, and that's really it, up to date for COPs. Again, we've been doing very well with limiting the amount of change orders on this job so far with the help of TSKP, their consultants, as well as our subcontractors and my field staff on site. Right now, we don't have any official COPs tonight for committee approval. But again, I could see COP 21, 22, and maybe 7B and 15 for the next committee meeting.
I looked at where we stand to date with approved change orders, and we're almost out of the ground, I would say. We're not completely out of the ground, but we're below 1% of the job, and I would hope that getting out of the ground would have the disproportionate piece of change orders, hopefully. But that's just a big picture.
Right.
Where we're at.
Comment was less than 1%.
Less than 1%
Change.
is change orders. Yes, it was about 0.8%. something like that.
Once we're on the ground, there should be fewer surprises.
Well, that's
Should be.
that's the rule of thumb.
Right.
Okay, but it's construction. Okay. Any other questions for Anthony on the change order proposals that we're not voting on yet?
That's a good point.
Next time.
All right. Next,
Give me
what do you
time.
got for us?
All right, last item here, last section of the agenda, progress photos.
We like pictures.
I like pictures. All right, so here we go. Johnny put together another fabulous rendition of a project update and photos. So here we are with the pour date of 5/15. This is from the last committee meeting. You can see here that these piers have not been poured, as well as some interior items here. We'll get to the before and after as we speak. This is completed concrete and backfilling on the west side of the building. This right here, as you can see, is where the slide rail system was to allow for us to excavate and trench and backfill for the concrete.
So we're looking down through the garage
We're
there.
looking down, yep, to the north side. Our field office is to the left and the green is to the right. And you can see here, we have highlighted of what's complete. Like I said before, everything in green is a wall. Everything in yellow is a footing or a pier. All right, moving down the line, we are completed concrete and backfilling of the south side of the building. As you can see here, this gravel down here is the entrance where everybody's coming in and out. You can see here, there are some piers that have been poured. Concrete walls up and has been stripped of its forms. As you can see here, highlighted in yellow and green is what's been done based on the structural foundation plan. Here we have some underground electrical going in. This is being backfilled as we speak. This back here is Berlin Steel's little field office that they got. This over here was the slide rail system. So this is in the back corner underneath on the garage slab area. So that's underground inspection done for electrical. This area is the underground plumbing that has been installed in the stairwell. This back area is the cluster where you have your elevator and the new stairwell and the Friends of the Library back here. All right, as you can see, all the concrete has been placed and poured and stripped, and underground plumbing that has been inspected and passed inspection. This is an upper view of the Friends of the Library store space. Again, you can see here the cluster of the stairwell, and over here where you can kind of see where the elevator is. Right now, all that plumbing has been backfilled and buried because it has been in past inspection. You can see here there was some foundation waterproofing going in, which is especially needed for the elevator. Okay. And here we go. Now as steel erection begins in the garage area, Johnny ever so kindly highlighted here, the yellow box is a column that has been set. And then anything here in red is a beam that has been placed and set. We're not fully done with the detailing yet. When I say set, that means out of a 4-bolt hole location, there are 2 installed, 2 structurally supported. This allows the steel contractor to move quicker to get the crane out of there. Then they will come back in, and then what we like to call detailing and plumbing of the building, making sure everything is square.
Anthony, is that steel white?
This is underneath the garage. This can't be painted because it's getting spray fireproofing.
Right.
But yes, steel is coming in where it's not getting spray fireproof is white. These are galvanized because they are going to be exposed, obviously, within that garage little area. As you can see here, we have more columns that have been gone up, and we have some more cross bracing beams that have gone in. You can see Johnny's highlighted floor plan here. And we have the total amount pour date of as of 5/29. You can see everything highlighted in yellow and green has been 100% complete, except this retaining wall and this retaining wall over here. And then you can see the amount of steel that has been installed as of 5/29/24 over here. So we'll start phasing this concrete yellow and green and replace it for the red and yellow concrete or structural steel install.
That's a lot of steel in 2 days.
They're
Yeah.
hanging, they're going. Everything's looking good so far. Does anybody have any questions?
Questions for Anthony or anybody at Downs?
Always has a.
Okay,
I have two questions, actually. What is the square footage of the Friends of the Library space?
That would be, I would have to turn that over to Jeff. I'm not sure what that square footage in there is.
I don't need
Yeah,
the
Louis,
exact, but just sort of in general.
Yeah, I'll have to get that to you tomorrow morning because I don't have a set of drawings here that shows the square footages. I don't have it memorized. I'll have to get back to you tomorrow.
Thank you. The second question was, in reading the scheduling portion, it said that there was a delay because some of the concrete had to be redone. Can you explain that to me?
There's a couple multiple things. There were some safety issues where we had to shut them down until they corrected, first of all, cleanliness of the job site. A couple where they're incorrect pours and forms, so they would have to take down before we poured the concrete. We would have to make them take down their forms, reset some items, reset some rebar, and they would have to basically rebuild the wall or the form itself because it was in the wrong location. There was a couple areas where they didn't lay it out correctly. So again, it all has to do with the layout, which is where this building is gonna go and make sure they are gonna get it right. But there was a lot of rework and redo before the concrete actually came to get poured. It becomes a bigger issue once you pour the concrete, right? And something is incorrect, because now you're chipping, you're cutting, you're doweling, so on and so forth.
So whose responsibility is that? Who pays for that?
That would be the responsibility of the concrete subcontractor.
And that's all been done, or you wouldn't be going on to the steel?
Correct. If we didn't feel it was necessary, we wouldn't be able to carry on to the next next phase of construction, which is the steel.
Thank you.
Elizabeth?
I just wanted to know, in terms of the schedule, if we have any potential dates for that steel ceremony, where that would fall in.
That's a great question, Elizabeth, and I kind of wanted to bring that up as before I ride into the sunset here. We did pick out a beam. I think it's going to be hopefully maybe a 2-day event, and the reason is maybe have a group gathering for the actual signing of the beam. As Berlin Steel progresses to install and hang that last beam, maybe have a second end to a ceremony and have watching them put it in place. I don't know if everybody's okay with that. We're still maybe a couple weeks away from getting to that point. And obviously it's a target date because, if it rains one day for a full day, the steel guys aren't on site. So it's just something to think about and that we need to coordinate, whether it's a 2-piece ceremony kind of thing, or we do it all in one day or half a day.
Yeah, we're gonna need to pin that down really soon. People
probably
need advance notice.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably about 2-3 weeks away from that.
Well, then it's time to get the notice out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we gotta
Middle of
iron
June.
that out.
What I hear. I hear you saying middle of June.
Maybe middle of
Summer.
June, third week of June.
Yeah.
Somewhere towards the latter.
Okay. Yeah, let's get that.
And we got to make sure it's done right because we don't want to delay, steel or whatever they have to do either. So it's going to be, some coordination efforts involved.
Yes, yeah, so please get that identified and
Yep.
out and we'll.
Nancy, we'll talk tomorrow, but do you want to contact the mayor? Should we contact the mayor?
No, I'll contact
Okay.
the mayor, but let's get a date in
Okay.
mind
Yeah.
and, yeah. Okay, thanks for bringing that up, Elizabeth. And you're all set, Elizabeth? Thank you. Bob Berman?
Just a comment, Anthony. It might make more sense to do the 2 steps they were because the beam signing can be set at a specific date.
100%.
Yeah.
Right.
And then when you get closer to when you can lift it up, then you can fix that date.
Right.
You might want to go ahead and play at it now, come up with a date for the signing.
That's kind of my thought process, why doing it in 2 parts.
Yeah, it makes more sense.
Sounds good to me.
So does the beam signing take place on the site, or is that elsewhere?
Yeah, what we'll do is it will be on site. We'll set the beam. It's going to be already primed white. We'll set the beam up on 2 sawhorses, get it down, and everybody could come in and sign their names. I don't know if there's gonna be, you know, refreshments, kind of do what we did for the groundbreaking ceremony type of thing.
We keep it pretty simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you have a
Photos
small
and-
window of opportunity, you know.
Sometimes it's better to do it towards the end of the day so that the next day it gets set. If you're talking at the site to Berlin Steel, you know, and we've done that in the past
Yeah, I
too.
gotta see too, Scott, if that beam has actually been delivered yet, because that's on the upper.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying, when we talk about the sequences that come, when the steel does come on the delivery truck and you have the date, it's good to have it set up so the next day, if it's gonna go, then it's gonna go, you know what I mean? Or just at the end of the day before we know. So we're just out of the way, that's all.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions for our construction manager? All right, let's move on to our architect, Jeff/Abby.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so, hot list of continuing from downs for the submittals and the RFIs. So we're continuing to review those. It looks like I have about 39 submittals left, 5 RFIs. I'm going to take a look at the latest hot list and see if I can knock a bunch of these out. Chris Solowak is still reviewing the technology package, so we're waiting for some review comments. I know he's been out, so that's still an open item. Lead online data input going. Been trying to get as much as I can on the input. I've been helping out my consultants as well with some language in some of these forms, so that's ongoing as well. I issued a site observation report today. So that's it for Prosser. McMahon, I talked to Glenn today. He's confirmed that the roof is complete at McMahon. The rooftop unit has been received and will be installed next week. And he's working on procuring the other job packages still. So that's McMahon. That's all I have.
Yeah, I was gonna do this under other comments, but I think as long as we're talking about McMahon, I do want to make it clear that that the mayor has made it clear that at a minimum, the intentions of the PLA, which govern what happens over at the Prosser site, are to be carried through at the McMahon project as well. And she did call for a meeting with Public Works, and Nancy was there, I was there, and to discuss, you know, how we get there, you know, how that the intentions of the PLA can be transferred over to the McMahon project. It's a much different kind of project than Prosser. So Public Works is working on that right now to come up with a plan. You know, it's a procurement issue, but it will potentially affect everything, you know, costs and schedule. So they are, and there is time is of the essence in order to satisfy the mayor's requirement. And the mayor has designated 3 town councilors to take charge of this issue. As she put it, her plate is pretty full with other things. So Councilor Todd Cooper and Ken McCleary and Mike Oliver will be overseeing this whole process. One of them, they'll be deciding among themselves. One of them will become the official liaison to the building committee as we move forward. The mayor has been filling that role up till now. So that's what's happening with that. And like I said, time is of the essence because the project does need to continue to move forward. And I have faith in Public Works and being able to do that. Patrick attended the meeting as well. So I think it was productive. And you know, the town wants to be fair. So
I did speak to Glenn, he was on site, and I told him that if he needs any help with anything, to let us know. If he needs contacts
Yeah, I
for
already spoke to
subs,
Tom.
right, if he has contacts over here that he needs for subcontractors.
You can't see it, but Lois has her hand up.
Lois,
She's
you have your
hidden by
hand
the
up.
recording.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I don't remember what the PLA is.
It's a project labor agreement that spells out the contractors will adhere to either be union or adhere to a number of union regulations. It also spells out use of apprentices, wage rates, procedures in hiring locals, if local laborers, if possible.
So it's
So-
the women and minorities
Yes.
and all of those.
I'm sorry.
It's the agreements in addition to that about numbers of women and minority owned businesses.
No.
Oh,
no,
that's separate. Okay,
That's a separate goal from the town.
thank you.
Bob Berman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if you know the answer to this, Jeff. Where do we stand with procurement of FF&E from McMahon?
Have an estimate.
Yeah, we did get I saw an email from Abby and my understanding is she's ready to pull the trigger. So, I think we're just waiting to iron out this
Renovation
procurement
schedule.
thing and the schedule so that we can do that. We know the budget is good. We believe the overall budget is good. So it's really a matter of ironing out any of these details so that we know we're on track, schedule and budget wise in total. But it should be really soon. I would think, because these are all, Abby has laid out the lead times and so
Yeah,
it's all
correct.
now, this is like between now and our, hopefully at our next meeting, we have answers to all of these things. That's kind of the goal.
Yeah, because as I remember discussion before, one of the things she said was that I think was by no later than the end of June, everything had to be in place for the timing to work.
Orders.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we'd have to approve this stuff probably at the next meeting.
that makes sense, I think. Within, hopefully,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, questions for Jeff?
On the PLA, so
Yes.
has Public Works been, like the roof and the HVAC, that all has been acquired per the terms of the PLA or?
No, all this, the mayor has made herself clear after that has happened. I know that the budgeting process in town has taken all the council out of the loop for a while. So it's just recently that we've heard, they've pinned this down and they understand. Mayor understands that some activity has gone on out of necessity of moving the schedule along. So those are now in the past officially.
It's obviously just gonna drive the price up. Project, that's all.
Maybe.
Oh, you mean to go in the direction of the PLA? Well, that's the classic argument.
Maybe.
Right.
I guarantee it. It's not gonna come down. If you wanna bet on it, I'll take your money.
No. Okay. Where are we? We're questions for Jeff. Anything else for TSKP? All right, we're good with that. Let's go to Sean. Project.
Thank you,
manager
Mr. Chair.
From Colliers.
We're continuing with tri-state testing. They're closing out concrete and soil. Testing, the last test breaks for the concrete are rolling in, as Anthony shared, 2 weeks ago, they got the approval to put the steel up based on the test breaks, so everything looks good with the concrete. Tri-State will continue to be the steel inspector. They'll be inspecting detailing as that progresses. And then all the reports continue to go to Michael Horton for their final review as the special inspector on the project. And you asked about the local official earlier. They get all those reports as well from the special testing company. In terms of commissioning, Van Zelm continues to review the submittals that come through for HVAC and the other systems. In terms of project overview, as we already saw from the pictures, steel has been mobilized, beginning to put up. As I mentioned last time, we'll get that big wow factor. We'll get a lot real fast, and then the detailing does take some time. So as the detailing, welding, those moment connections get welded, and all the inspections happen. I don't want to steal Anthony's thunder, but I have overheard Jason in this trailer working hard on schedule recovery. He's coming up with ideas to recover the schedule. The process is working. And I just wanted to emphasize that a little bit. The design team, your construction manager, the process is working. I know lots of times it's difficult talking about a lot of these big number change orders, but it's good that they're bringing them to the table and talking about them rather than just saying, sorry about your luck, this happened. So, your process is working. You have a good team.
Well, thanks for putting that in perspective. Questions for Sean? Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sean, one of the things we were concerned with was the additional cost for storage of materials and so forth, and whether it could be kept at the atrium, they move into McMahon, or just what's going to happen. Is there any progress along that front?
I gave the pricing to Mark and Nancy for storage through WB Myers. And I believe we're still talking to the owner of the atrium about if that's a possibility or.
We hadn't started that yet this week.
That's the intent.
Yeah, the intent is to talk to them further, but I'll collect any other information that you guys want me to track down, or do you have enough information at this time?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
Because we have so many other what ifs at the moment.
Right.
Which we hope we settle as we talked about in the next few weeks. But that's part of the picture.
Yep.
Obviously, schedule and budget dependent.
Yeah,
And
so
all
as
that.
that stuff comes together, I'll collect any information we need on that. Absolutely.
Okay. Questions for Sean? All right, thank you for that. So with that, Nancy, do we have,
No.
we have paid all the bills we're gonna pay tonight?
I did.
Good. All right. All right. Other items from the committee? I do not see any hands. Going once. Twice. Okay. So next meetings coming up are two in June, the 12th and the 26th, regular meetings. And from that, do we have members of the public that want to speak? Nancy?
Anybody from the public would like to speak, please raise your virtual hand. Anyone would like to speak, please raise your hand and we can recognize you. No.
Okay, well, I thank everybody for attending and hope everybody had a nice holiday weekend. We're about to go into June. We're gonna see lots more steel going in, right? Okay,
Hard to believe.
all right, so with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
By Mr. Ike, seconded by Mr. Berman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Right, we are adjourned and I thank everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good night.